this is Stephanie. Welcome to another video. So today we're going to work on these earrings. And I use some of the beads from the Shamrock Luck Box 2025 by Beading School. And this is a curated collection by Erica. So how cool is that? These beads are so gorgeous. I did an unboxing. I'll link that down below, and I'll put a link to the box as well. I'm not sure it's still available, but you can take a look at it and see what you think. But I love these greens. You notice they're different. So this earring you can stop so many different places and still have a beautiful earring. And I'll put so this is the one I did the whole thing with all the embellishing. And this is the one where I stopped, and I'll put a little clip in and to show you how I did that. Very easy. And what's nice about it is that it's pretty from the front and the back. So what we did here is we put two crystals together. They're flat backs. So if your hair is up or you have short hair, you will look pretty coming and going. All right, let's get materials going. So you'll need a couple of actually four of them. It's a 7mm Preciosa Chaton Rose, and it's a flat back. It's so pretty. This is gorgeous. So see, it's a flat back, and what you're going to do is you're going to glue two together. So I had a little bead spill, and that's the only bead I can't find in my studio, but I will find it. So I have two here just to show you that. See, you just kind of glue them together like that with some, I use E6000, you can use super glue, whatever. So you'll need four of those, and I'll list everything in the description box below, all colors, sizes, shapes, where to purchase, everything that you need to know. 3mm bicone, 2mm round bead, 11/0 seed bead, all the seed beads are Miyuki. I've got a 3mm fire polish, I've got a half Tila, here's a stop bead. I've got all different size needles here, and you'll really be using a size 12 beading needle for the most part. You can do 11 as well, but you'll need the smaller needle. I've got a 15/0, a Delica, so again Miyuki, and then I've got these. This is the bead I added that wasn't in the box. This is a slender bugle. It is a Miyuki bead. It's a 6mm bugle bead, and I love these. And you'll see during the video I'll be saying to you, you really should, get a bag of these. You don't need a ton of them, but they're so good for adding structure, and they look pretty. That's a really beautiful bead that I've never really used before. Okay, so I said stop bead. I've got, I told you beading needles. Okay, I've got some 6-pound Fireline thermally fused tough. I love this bead, this thread, and I have it in smoke. So really, this is a great thread if you're interested. It does come off on my fingers a little bit, but I just happen to really love this particular thread. All right, so I think that's everything. As I said, everything is in the description box below the video. Anything I forgot, anything, any coupon codes I might have, anything I want to tell you. So don't forget to click the down arrow or the show more. Box will open, and so much info is down there. All right, so let's get started. The very first thing we're going to do is take the two flat back 7mm crystals, and we're going to glue them back to back. So here, this is what it looks like. I've glued them back to back. I used E6000, but I let it sit overnight. But if you want to do it right away, just use some super glue. That should work. So just like that. So this is what you will have. Next up, we're going to thread our needle with about 40 inches of thread, put on a stop bead, and we'll leave about a 10 to 12 inch tail because we can just use that tail a little bit. So I've picked up and dropped down to my stop bead, 1/2 Tila and 3 15/0s, and I did that 8 times. So 1/2 Tila and 3 15/0s 8 times. Sew those into a circle by sewing through the first 1/2 Tila, so that's the first bead after my stop bead, and that first 15/0. So just these two, like so. This is what it looks like. So we're exiting the first 15/0 after a 1/2 Tila. So now we're going to reinforce, but we're going to do it in a particular way. So exiting this 15/0, I'm just going to skip the middle 15/0 and sew through the next 15/0, 1/2 Tila, and 15/0. So just like that. When you do that, you want to make sure that that middle bead, that middle 15/0 is sticking up. So that it tends to want to go down. Just pick it up. Push it up with your needle or your finger, and you're going to have a little picot in the middle. What we're going to do next is we're exiting this 15/0. We're going to skip the middle one, sew through the next 15/0, Tila 15/0, just like we did before. Pull that through, and then just push your little 15-0 up, and then give it a pull like this, so it just keeps the thread in the right direction. So here we're getting a little picot here. So you're just going to repeat that all the way around. So we're exiting this top hole of a tila, or half tila. I'll use those interchangeably because we're only using half tilas. So I'm just going to push that guy in like that. Then I'm going to skip one, just with my finger. I'm going to push this one in. So I want to push 4 of them in. Skip, push one in, skip the next one, and push this one in. So you'll have this little base inside, just like that. Pick up 2 11-0s, exiting right here, this half tila. I'm just going to sew through the next one. Just putting 2 11-0s in between each one. One more. 2 11-0s through the last tila and the first 11-0 that you put on. This is what it looks like. You'll be exiting that first 11-0. We're exiting this 11-0. I'm going to pick up a 15-0 and I'm going to sew through the next 11-0, half tila and 11-0. So you're just putting a 15-0, and hold my thumb in a second, in between the 2 11-0s. So 15-0 through the right through the 11-0, half tila, 11-0. Let's do that 2 more times. Down to my last 15-0, exiting the 11-0, sewing through the next 11-0, through the half tila, the 11-0, and the next 15-0. Just like that. So we're exiting the 15-0 right here. We're going to pick up an 11-0, a delica, and an 11-0, and I'm just going to sew through that next 15-0. So just like that. Let's do it again. 11-0, delica, 11-0. Exiting this 15-0, I'm going to sew through this 15-0. And do that 2 more times. Coming up to my last 11-0, delica, 11-0. Exiting this 15-0, I'm going to sew through that first one we started with. So the next 15-0. And then I'm just going to advance through the 11-0, delica, and the 11-0. So that would be the first group we put on. So just like that. Okay, so we are exiting the group of 11-0, delica, 11-0. So the 11-0, I'm going to pick up my little chubby stone. It's very cute. Glued together like that. All right, and then we're going to pick up 3 15-0s. And we're going to sew through the next, so we're exiting the 11-0. So sew through the next group of 11-0, delica, 11-0. So just like that. Let me just check my, let's see. Yes. Okay. I have so many notes on this because there are so many steps that I have to keep checking it. So just add 3 15-0s in between each of the groups of 11-0, delica, 11-0. And if your stone falls out, don't worry about it. It's not going to stay for a little bit. You can just hold it with your thumb. I'm just putting it there just to, just to get the structure right. So I don't want to pull too tight and make it too, make the kind of the cup too tight. So that's why I'm holding my thumb there. So just do that 2 more times. Last group of 3 15-0s, exiting the 11-0, sewing through the next 11-0, delica, 11-0, like that, and then on through the first 15-0 of that first group of 3. So just like that. I'm going to reinforce this all the way around, and I'm going to do it like we did when we put the The teal is on, I'm going to do a little picot here. So I'm exiting this 15-0. I'm going to skip the middle one and I'm going to sew through the next 15-0, 11-0, delicate 11-0, and the next 15-0. Just like that. And I want to make sure that pops up. And this one's going to just sort of pop straight up, which is fine. Okay, then I'm exiting that 15-0. I'm going to skip the middle one, sew through the next 15-0, next 15-0, 11-0, delicate 11-0, and 15-0. So just like that. Just make sure it pops up and do that 2 more times. Okay, the last one. So you're exiting the 15-0, skip the middle 15-0, sew through the 15-0, the 11-0, the delicate, the 11-0, just like that. And then you've got it all on. So then you're going to advance your needle through the next 15-0 and the middle 15-0. So you want to be exiting that middle 15-0 of the 3 15-0s. This is what it looks like so far. So we're exiting that middle 15-0 of the little picots we just made. So I'm going to pick up 4 15-0s, exiting this picot. I'm just going to sew through the top hole of the next little picot. So that's the middle 15-0. Just like that. Pick up 4 15-0s. Exiting this little picot, the middle bead of the picot, I'm just going to sew through the middle bead of the next picot. So we're just doing that 2 more times. Last group of 4 through this one, so that's the middle bead of the picot. And then you're going to reinforce this all the way around. While you're reinforcing, you're going to be sewing through all the beads, the 4 you put on and that middle, you know, the where you connected through the top hole of the picot. So just make sure you get all the beads. So here I'm going, I exited this little picot bead. I'm going to sew through the 4, like so. And then I'm going to go through this one before I sew through the next 4. So just make sure you get all the beads, and that will just secure your bezel a little bit. Exiting that middle picot bead right here, you know, after you did your 4 15-0s, I want you to sew through the next 15-0 right here, and then right on through the 11-0, delicate 11-0. So I can only get through the 11-0 in the first delicate right now. So 15-0, going through the 15-0, the 11-0, the delicate, and the last 11-0. So you'll be exiting this guy. Get the needle in there. There we go. Okay. So you essentially just want to get through to the 11-0, delicate 11-0, because we're going to put something here to the next group. Okay, so we're going to pick up a 15-0, 3mm bicone and a 15-0. So I'm exiting this group of 3, the 11-0, delicate 11-0. I'm just going to sew through the next group of 3, the 11-0, delicate 11-0. Just going to place a bicone right there. Do that again. 15-0, 3mm bicone, 15-0. Exiting this 11-0, sewing through the next, just the 11-0, delicate 11-0. $15-0, bicone, 15-0, exiting here, just going to sew through the next 11-0, delicate 11-0. So do that one more time. That's what we have so far. So you're exiting that 11-0. Let me see if I can clear things up a bit right here. So I just want you to just hop over to that tila, the bottom hole of this tila right here. So you're just going from that 11-0, the dark one right there, the green one, through this to this tila. It's just going to put a little thread there, but you're not going to see it. You can always end your thread and start a new thread here, but I think this is fine. It kind of, you know, completes the circle a little bit, you know, the edge, and you won't see that thread, but you have the option of starting new here. And then you want to sew through, so we're at the bottom hole of the tila. I'm going to sew through the top hole. So just like that. Hey, here we are. We're exiting the top hole of this half tila, turning my piece around. So I want to put some structure on the back. So I'm going to add my own bugle bead here. So I'm using a 6mm bugle bead. This is the Miyuki slender bugle. I love this bead. It's amazing how useful it is for structure. So I'm going to add this. So I'm exiting here, picked up my bugle bead. I'm going to sew through bottom hole of this tila. I'm going to pick up another one. I'm going to sew through the top hole of this one. So when I place those on, see, I'm just going to get structure all the way around. So keep doing that all the way around. Okay, last bugle. I think these look so pretty. I mean, I love the edge that it gives a piece. So again, I think these are a great little bead to have in your stash. You don't need every color, just maybe one color that is, you know, your main, that you use as a main, either metallic or color that you use all the time. And there we go. So I've put all my bugle beads on. I'm going to advance, so I'm exiting the tila now, so I'm going to advance down this bugle that I already have on there. Just want to tighten this up a little bit, or just, you know, end the circle sort of thing. I'm going to go back through the bottom hole of this tila, like that. Change to a smaller beading needle if you need it, and then up this bugle bead. So now everything is on nice and snug and evenly, and we're going to start adding beads through the bugle beads. Okay, this is what we have so far, and I'm really liking the back. I mean, the front is pretty too, but I love the back. All right, so before we move on with adding the bicones at the tips here, you've got your tail thread, so you should be exiting either the top hole or the bottom. I think you're exiting the top hole of one of the interior tilas here. So just come through the bottom hole of whatever tila you're exiting. So you want to be exiting the bottom hole of a tila. I'm just going to you can either put an 11-0 or a delica, whatever you like. This is just more decorative here. So I'm going to pop a delica in between each one of those tilas. Like that. So just do that 4 times, and then you can tie in this thread. So I put all my delicas in, and honestly, I'm not even sure you need them. So it's up to you whether you want to put, do something decorative on the inside. I think it's just fine the other way, as long as everything is nice and snug. So I'm just going to turn my piece around. So I've, the back thread I've already sewn in. And so here, we're exiting one of the bugle beads here. I'm going to pick up 2 15-0s. Let me grab my bicones, a bicone, and a 15-0. And actually, we could actually turn it around. It might be easier to work on the back. So just like so. So 2 15-0s, bicone, and a 15-0. I'm going to skip the 15-0 and sew through the bicone. I'll show you that in a second. Make sure that is snug. So give it a little pull. And then I'm going to pick up 2 15-0s. And I'm going to sew down through the next bugle bead. So just like that. And then I'm going to, I got a little thread sticking out there. Come here, you. I'll get that later. Then I'm going to pick up 2 15-0s, and I'm exiting the bottom of this bugle. I'm going to sew through the bottom of this one up to the top. So just like that. And then I'm going to pick up 2 15-0s, bicone, and a 15-0. Like that. So I'm doing the same thing, skipping the 15-0, sewing through the bicone. And I kind of hold the tip bead, that 15-0, and then I pull from here and to get it nice and, seated nicely. And then 2 15-0s through the bugle, like that. And then 2 15-0s through the next bugle, like that. So this is what our sequence looks like. So you're going to continue that. We'll do it one more time, and then on this one, we'll put on the ear wire. Okay, this is what I have so far. So I'm exiting one of the bugle beads, and this is what the front looks like. I just think it's looking so good. So I'm exiting a bugle bead. I'm going to sew through the top hole of that tila right there. So you want to start your ear wire coming through this tila. Okay, let's add the ear wire. So I've turned it to the front. You're exiting the half tila right there. You're going to add a 15-0, a 2mm round and a 15-0. Come through the loop on your wire, on your ear wire. Then add a 15-0, a 2mm, and a 15-0. Come through the other side of the tila, just like that. Just make sure everybody straightens out. And you want to make sure that that ear wire is sitting in between the two 15-0s, and as you tighten it, it'll kind of tighten up there, and then you want to reinforce. My ear wire is on, and I'm exiting the top hole of this tila. I'm just going to sew down through the bugle, and then I'm going to just complete that round here. So I'm going to pick up two 15-0s, and I'm going to sew through the next bugle bead. Okay, exiting the bugle bead. Actually, we're going to turn it over to the front. So here we're exiting here. I'm just going to sew through the half tila. So we'll work this way a little bit. So you're exiting that half tila. Pick up a 15-0, a 2mm round, and a 15-0. I'm exiting the top hole here of this half tila. I'm going to sew through this one, and you might need to kind of maneuver your needle a little bit to get it in there, but it'll go. There we go. So just like that. So 15-0, 2mm round, 15-0. Doing that again. 15-0. Oops. Find my 2mm rounds. 2mm round and a 15-0. I'm going to sew through the top hole of the next tila. So just like that. So you can do that all the way around. So when we get up to the top with ear wire, we're not changing anything. I'm just going to do the same exact thing that I did. So 15-0, 2mm round, 15-0, then 15-0, 2mm round, and a 15-0. You're going to go through this one and this one right here. Last 15-0, 2mm 15-0 through the tila right here. Now you have all of them on, and getting through these interior ones is a little difficult, so use your size 12 beading needle and maneuver around. Don't force it. You will get it. You can kind of maybe, give it a little push or push some of the beads out of the way, but I've done it many times, and even though it's a little difficult, it is doable. Okay, so we're exiting the half tila. I'm going to sew through the next 15-0, 2mm round, and the 15-0. Just like that. So that's where you want to be. A little alternative ending, just a change in beads. So remember after we put the ear wire on, and then we came up through one of the tilas, and then remember we put on a 15-0. I don't want to pull it because it's a bicone. I don't want to cut the thread, but we put on a 15-0, 2mm round, 15-0 came through this guy. I just put on a 15-0, the bicone, and a 15-0, and I'm just going to, here, I'll just do the last one with you. So just changing the bead, the middle bead. So here, and I'm just going to pop through this one. So remember, this is what we did, but they were all 2mm, little 2mm round beads. And then we came through these three and put the fire polish here. I think this is really pretty, just all filled with like really pretty bicones. So that's another way of continuing on and just changing a bead to change the look. So look at the difference. And leaving one bead off. So this is a much more, it's got much more surface area, where this one is a little more, has less, just has less around it. So we've taken this guy off and changed that little 2mm. So just a thought there. If you want yet another suggestion on how to finish this earring. Last round, we're exiting the 15-0, 2mm, so the 15-0. I'm gonna pick up my 3mm fire polish and sew through the next 15-0, 2mm 15-0. So just placing that fire polish, right there. And then you're going to advance through the tila, the 15-0, the 2 millimeter, and the next 15-0. Let's get through that 15-0, like so. Okay, here's our earring. We're all done. So at this point, you have some thread left over. So if you need to reinforce anything, go ahead and use that thread before you sew it in. And so here's the back. Here's the front. I think it came out really pretty. You know, as I said before, you can really stop at any point. You don't have to add the fire polish if you don't want to. You can put a bicone here. You can change whatever beads, you know, on your embellishment that you like. You have the space to put, you know, some beads in. So, or take them out. So this is one where I haven't, you know, done the embellishment yet, and I kind of like it the way it looks this way also. So I think that's kind of pretty. So here you go. Here's your earring. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you make it and post it on Facebook. I love seeing your renditions of things, especially when, you know, when I see different colors as well, because it just looks so, things look so different in all different colors. All right, so here you go. Thank you so much for being here, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.